Tuesday. What's going on, everybody? Core Conversations, Freestyle Tuesday. Hope you are all doing well. It's a chilly May day here in Mississauga, so I'm still have layers on, but it's all good. We're here. We're gonna have a good time. We are Ply's house. What's going on? How's it going? Custom Cores, Adrienne. PJ Finch. What's up? Good morning, everybody. Let's get this up here. So Core Conversations known. Happy Tuesday, Carissa. How has the feedback been from your Core Conversations chats? What's been the feedback? Just wondering in your circles with conversations in the studio, that sort of thing. How's that been? Core Conversations. And we have Gnome. Is the podcast drop? Actually, if you want to join me on screen, you're more than welcome to. Like, subscribe, and share. New episodes every Wednesday. Bye now. Whew. All right. Healthy by you. What's going on? Cool. All right, so when some more people show up, today I want to talk about your elevator pitch. Mr. Phil's just joined us in the room too. So Carissa, if you want to join us on the screen, please do so. I'd love to have you on. Mr. Phil's, Martin, if you want to join us as well, pop in, say hello, that'd be good. We had a great chat yesterday while you guys are just adjusting the lag or delay, all those things. Yesterday, Stefan was at Seeds for Greatness, and we just went off on talking about our areas of passion. I had Hula Roos Yogini join me, who is, yeah, dude, it's busy. It's getting busy in the background. And Stefan was on yesterday too, so we had a great chat. Hi, Tammy. And it's funny, like everyone's popping up now. I have all these things I want to say all of a sudden. Tammy, I had a conversation with a gentleman today, one of my clients, and he was talking about it was funny. Okay, cool. Let's get Martin Phil's on, and then maybe Tammy, I'll have you on after if you can join us as well. So let's do that. And Carissa, if you're good to go, jump in. And yeah. So where are we? See if it is Martin Phil's. Hello, sir.
Hey, there you go. My office space.
Hey.
It's COVID. Dining room table. Here, let me just switch this camera around. There we go. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Just finished with a client.
Yeah, sure. I think I need to say something to you. I'm just thinking of one of the conversations that we had a few weeks back. I feel like I want to clarify something, and I want to apologize to you if it came across the wrong way. We were talking about the different modalities. Actually, maybe it was even Carissa's conversation with We Are Pilates House. But anyway, so we were talking, and I used the example of different ways of doing Pilates. And I cited your no reformer, no problem class. And I was saying that that was just like legit, like that's a way that you can do things, and how we have to be creative, and the question of accessibility. What do you have access to do these exercises? So I threw that out there and I used it as an example. And I hope, I'm sure everyone knows my intent, to know that I don't come across like as I'm shooting that down in a negative way. I just cited that that's something that is done, and that you teach that class. You do a good job of teaching it. So I hope that, like, I don't know if you saw the replay on that, or if anyone saw. Okay, good. All right.
No, it's good.
All right, cool. Nice.
And it is a good example. It is a good example of how to be adaptive when you don't have a full studio or access to it, or you want to be able to travel. I mean, listen, don't forget that Joseph wrote his book in 1945 as a way of taking the apparatus work onto the mat, so that you can keep up your practice, so that when you were able to get to apparatus, you wouldn't have lost anything, right? So
Yep.
it was one of the purposes of the main book in I guess not. Yeah, was it 1945? I'm even forgetting my
Somewhere
dates now.
Yeah,
Somewhere
I never learned the dates. I mean, how relevant is the date actually, right? Like, I mean, it was back then. We're here reference it, right? So,
Yeah.
it's like using soup cans in prison or something instead of using straight barbells. You gotta
Yes.
just like improvise,
Exactly. Or jugs of water.
jugs of water, garbage bags full of water. One of the kids from drop-in used to tell me that was what he did. You know, like, yeah, I guess it's the same thing.
I'm seeing a few people I know in the room, which is nice. Wow.
Nice. So you've
Abby
been
and
crazy
Debbie,
busy
and
lately, eh?
yeah. Hmm? Say that again?
You've been crazy busy. It sounds like just
Yeah,
been.
it's been really busy. In fact, as I'm talking, there are messages floating in on Teams from U of T about various and sundry. So yeah, no, it's been busy. It's been quite the ramp up. I haven't had time, frankly, to make an elevator pitch.
But that's the whole thing. I don't think you even need to make one. And even when they had Venitra in yesterday, and that she's from Yoga Hula Roots. Have you seen Hula Roots? I don't know if you follow her. So she does like hula hoop yoga fusion classes. It's pretty cool stuff. And she's talking about how it really changed her life, and how people are using it dynamically. And she went on her whole thing, and I asked her what her elevator pitch was. And she was like, it's going to do this, and I'm 54 years old.
Yeah, I usually start my elevator pitch with my age, because then people are floored, and then I got them.
Right.
And then I start with that. But yeah, but you know what? I guess so. That has been, we're talking about no reformer, no problem. That is my elevator pitch. We do this, using this simple equipment, and I'm 58. Well, I will be 58 in a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it works.
It works. There you go.
It really does work.
Yeah, so that's fun. So, and for those of you who want to join us in the chat, just and this isn't like a master class. You can't fail this, so don't feel like you need to perform. I just want to talk with you about what you do and what you're most passionate about, and then how do you kind of bottle that in terms of just the way you talk to people about it, right? So, and yeah, so I've had this conversation many times, and I keep rehashing it because every time I'm in a different situation, I'm celebrating what other people do, and then that kind of also concretes what I do, right? Like, if you're doing that over there, I feel better about the fact that I like working with men and athletes over here, because you could do that really well. I'm going to do this really, really well, and we're both going to be able to have a great impact on our communities collectively.
I agree, 100%. And getting an elevator pitch, as much as I joke and say I don't have the time, it's important, and it's something that you have to be able to deliver on the fly at times, because sometimes people just show up out of nowhere, ask you the question, and all of those people can be potential clients.
Yes.
Right. Or potential business relationships, or that. So you have to keep that in mind too. I mean, it is very, very important. It's part of your mental gymnastics, mental flexibility to be able to do that. Summarize what you do, very, very brief time, without a long story, necessarily. The long stories are for they're more appropriate times for that, but
Right,
just to
right. Yeah,
deliver.
absolutely. And we have an inside lane with Pilates too because we can adapt it to whoever's in front of us.
Yes.
So I
Or we
could
should
be,
be.
we
Don't
should
forget
be,
we should be. Remember, that's been the argument for the last 2 years, right?
yeah,
That many people weren't. They were just delivering on stuff. Bodies in front of them didn't matter,
right.
and it was disenfranchising a whole set of people. So you're right. We should be doing that, and I'm not too sure everybody in Pilates has that inside lane.
No, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the image I had in my head was when I was at this dinner the other day, and it's like a banquet. So around the table, and then someone's like, he teaches Pilates, and someone's like, oh, I don't do Pilates because you know what I mean. So I didn't even have a chance to put my pitch out there. Someone just
Hmm.
like pointed me out, and then someone's like, I don't do it. I was like, well, actually, it's for that. And someone's like, oh, I do this all day. So, oh, it's perfect for that. Well, I have this issue. Well, actually, it works for that too, right? So I
Right.
was like, just like around the room because it's not because I'm that great. It's that the Pilates is that great that if you have back pain, it can help. If you work out every single day, it can help. If you have bad posture, it can help. So I mean, so like when you're armed with these things, like your elevator pitch can be pretty fluid, but at the same time, I can really distill it down to the thing I'm most excited about. So if everyone in that room was saying that, and then one of them said, "Oh, my son's 11 years old and he plays hockey, but his hips hurt him all the time," I'd be like, "Here's my card." You know what I mean? Like, whereas the rest, I'm like, "Yeah, call me whatever," right? Whereas, like, who would you chase after is really what it comes down to.
I think it's more that being chased and chasing after these days because
Yes.
people are
Yeah.
coming, and it is that that I have a cure for that or I have a pill for that. I have a Pilates move for that. That's usually
Yes.
my response to that. So that also becomes part of the elevator pitch, and it seems to be working. It's getting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm consolidating with clients and everything, and a few people
Mhm.
are beginning to get back into this sort of thing. So
Sure.
I'm very happy that it's working. Like I said, it's you're a sole proprietor. You don't have any instructors working for you, right? So
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
you know,
Sort of
it,
one. Just one.
yeah. And I have now that the corporate side is getting back. I only have one and other instructors. Not even Pilates.
Hmm.
It's conditioning and aqua stuff
Yeah.
now. But you just find yourself so busy sometimes that sometimes the elevator pitch is the only way because that's essentially all the time you have to
Yes.
say to this person, catch them or not, right? Catch their
Right.
interest or not. You have to pique their interest because you have to move on to the next gig. It's always something when
Hmm.
there's this thing about how you have to move away from using your own time in your own body to make your income
Yeah.
to yes, you're there as a leader and example and so on, but you get other people to follow and have them use
Yes.
their bodies to help you
Right.
make your own income. I mean,
It's called
that's
scaling your business, everybody.
it's called scaling your business exactly. So elevator pitches are important there too. Sometimes you need to elevator pitch another instructor and say, well, here's the deal. If you work for me, this is going to be stable. I'll
Sure.
be providing all of this. You don't have to do any administration. All you have to do is invoice me. Blah blah blah. Right. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So those elevator pitches become important. So yeah, please excuse me, everybody, for my joke saying I'm too busy to elevator pitch. Well, indeed, that's all I do.
That's all you do. That's the most
That's all.
efficient way that's probably the most efficient way to grow your business and to because
Yes.
I mean it also weeds out the other things that you really don't have time for when you're that busy. So if I have two slots left and they're non-prime time and I'm trying to fill them, I can fill it with general population, or I can be excited about that by having someone in there that is going to be a challenge for me and engaging for them, or else I could just make that admin time and that's going to grow my business as well. So I mean, like, what do I want to fill that spot with?
No, you're absolutely right. And here's another question for you. I don't know if you've talked about this very much on your channel because my time has been that even Instagram has been like a quarter of what it is now. But do you have
Yes.
do you have a political elevator pitch now? Are you ready for
Yes,
that?
I'm I'm actually I'm typing in your name here, Martin. just at two black, because Stefan Seas for Greatness is asking. Yo, there. Yeah, so I'm working on that for my thing too, because as I start to campaign, I can't be everywhere at the same time. So I need people to be able to say like, he's lived in the area for 40 years, he's served in the area for 25 years. You know what I mean? Like, just be able to drop some of those things. He's passionate about, supporting, amplifying, connecting small businesses, nonprofits, and helping people, and he's concerned about the things that are important to you. So this continues to be the best place to live, work, and play. You know what I mean? Like, and just be able to just have them know those talking points, so that they recognize it's not someone parachuting in. It's not someone just looking for a job. It's not someone using it as a step up to get somewhere else. It's someone who's lived in this area and, has gone to all the same schools, raised his kids. He's a dad. Yeah, those things. So there's those connecting points.
Yeah, so that's important too. Well, in a sense, you've really raised a topic that's perhaps too prescient for a lot of people. Well, in the third line too, a lot of people returning to work, and frankly, to change jobs and stuff like, particularly that the return to work, I'm not finding it to be that. During the pandemic, they said things will change.
Yes.
And so we're going to have a whole new way of approaching employment and our employees and stuff. Not one beeping thing has changed. In fact, I'd argue it's worse. But at least that in this day and age, the employee has a upper hand now.
Yep.
So we'll see how long that lasts. Inflation is beginning to cut away into the employee's upper hand.
Right.
So we'll see how long that lasts, but it's the time now to have your elevator pitches ready. Yeah. Because if you want to be snapped up by something better, there you go. Have it ready. Have it waiting. So
have you seen, I know you got to get going soon, but have you seen, is there a lot of like virtual Pilates workshops? Are people still spending energy trying to get like virtual like workshops and demos and stuff like that off the ground, or is everyone kind of shifting more their gaze more towards
they're still going. I mean, I can only speak to Marathon because that's my direct experience, but we know some other providers as well that we know who are doing and thriving with their online workshops. Right. But Marathon's the one that starts this week actually, and into next week is already booked. It's full.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's full from the beginning. They put these online ones out and it's full. Well, the other thing about online too is that you have such an international reach. Okay, depending on what your liability insurance allows, but you have quite an international reach. So these things fill up because people are looking to continue their education, and
it's convenient.
There isn't enough.
It's convenient.
It's very convenient. Yes, extremely convenient. And for this, you can offer, and it's convenient for the instructors, and it's convenient for everybody involved. Yes. And you can pay. I don't want to accuse them of gouging because they don't actually, but you can pay a premium for that sort of skills advancement, and it's great in the comfort of your own home.
Right.
And people get into it. I don't know if I would be ready to do. They're offering now their intensive and longer course reformer education and Cadillac barrels and chairs education now. I've seen several of those going, but they're in person. But again, the corporate studio is big enough that if you have 7 or 8 people, it's not, and they're all wearing masks, which they insist on. It's not going to be a problem.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So there is a lot of online stuff. I see a lot of online stuff coming from them, and then, like I said, people that we know mutually. So where I see the slowdown, Martin, is in the racial justice stuff.
Okay. Yep.
The equity work, the DEI work has become a lot slower.
Yes. Well, it's not imperative anymore. Like you saw even with the city of Toronto, right?
Who
Like
said it's not imperative?
no,
It's just that
the
they're shooting in
perception.
Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. So the perception is that it's not imperative, and then you have a situation happen. And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is still relevant," right? Like that's sadly the way it looks. I mean, you saw the city of Toronto, right? Like, I mean, was it that low percentage of the city councilors who did like their all the racial equity training courses that was it was mandated for them to take? Like 10% of them did it or something like that. Like people like now that it's not front and center, they forget about it, and then sadly something happens, and then it's right back in center. And like, oh yeah, like I mean, like it's like for those who are doing the work, they recognize that nothing has stopped and their message is still loud. It's just that less people are opening their ears to hear it.
Right. I think so. There's an area where we have to bring our minds together again to come up with elevator pitches that stick in that
Mm-hmm.
respect, that keep people aware that they still have to do all of this work.
Yes.
Their work isn't finished yet.
Right.
So that's a
Exactly.
tough elevator pitch to do, especially when sometimes when you open your mouth, to speak, already people are taking offense of what you say because they take it
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
And they don't get it. They still don't get
Right.
it. That is the tougher. I found that over the last 2 years, that is the toughest elevator pitch to make.
Yeah. And to be fair, like when I had Daniel John on, we were talking about this. How like I think Jonathan Edwards, the gentleman who passed away, the attorney, is that his name?
I believe
You
so.
know,
Yeah.
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 And we were talking about some others. Like these guys were at it for like 40 years,
Yep.
30 years, and in when you put it in that kind of frame of reference, the way we've been doing using social media the last 2 years and leveraging, sad to say, the experience that have happened, we're still like in the probation phase. Like this is still the onboarding if we're gonna be doing this for the next 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, so we put it in perspective when we have conversations like this, and I'm so glad that you brought it up again today. We keep it in the conversation. We're gonna have to keep it in the conversation for years until people recognize that this is a normal part of the conversation when we're talking about, in our context, movement, right? Like, I mean, that's always a layer that needs to be in there.
Ongoing professional development, and DEI is so much a part of ongoing professional development.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
It's
most
even
likely.
hard to tweak colleagues and stuff into seeing it this way. Because
Right.
again, until you say something that gives them pause, and usually when what happens, and we've done this before, you make the pitch, it gives them pause, but the pause comes out as being offended.
Yes.
They take it personally, and then we go
Right.
through all of the ideas of tears and crying and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, all of that sort of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
um, we have to make elevator pitches in this case that have people take pause, but causes them to think rather than to react negative. It's such a delicate uh,
Yes. I, it,
trapeze act. But beyond that, I
yes.
think that most you and I and many of us who do this sort of stuff, we're tired. It's hard to make a good elevator pitch,
Mm.
right? In that
Yeah.
respect, when you're fatigued, I'm fatigued. Buffalo came, and it was just like, you just feel like you're beginning to climb out,
Yep.
and you're knocked down into another hole again, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think that a lot of racialized people are very fatigued right
Yep.
now, and it's hard for them to be motivated to continue doing this pitch.
Yeah.
But we can't let it die. Unfortunately, that's one of the most important elevator pitches that we've had to make in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
right? And has to be
Right.
succinct. It has to be, and all of the effort to make it emotionless and very clear, logical. This is what needs to be done, sort
Mm.
of thing. That's exhausting, especially when you're
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're feeling it, on an emotional level so terribly strongly because it affects you directly.
Yeah. The tired thing. I still I still have energy for this. I'm not saying that you don't. In that way. But I feel like for me, it's almost like your elevator pitch. You're trying to connect with the audience, and if the audience is ignorant to how it connects with them, then the challenge is to build empathy and to evoke sympathy within, not sympathy, but empathy, to understand, to kind of put themselves in that place in some other way. So that challenge is, for me, it's challenges accepted, right? Like I'm having
Mhm.
conversations with people on like on the campaign trail, so to speak, and hearing their sentiment on First Nations, on the Muslim community, on the white community, on whatever it is, and just hearing them. And then as I'm having conversation with them, I can hear not that they hate another group, but that they just don't have empathy for that group because they don't know or can't connect with that emotion because they haven't had to access that in their own
Mhm.
lived experience.
And this is why you get the bad reaction too, because when you do force them to, it's usually a reaction of offense and guilt, and everything else comes out in
because
tears.
because you're forcing them to. You made it too
You're
uncomfortable
forcing
for
them to.
them. But
Yeah.
then you get tired from trying to accommodate them and making it comfortable enough to slide into that jacket. Whereas my wife says it's a cloak of shame that you don't want to put on.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You got
That
it.
you realize you're actually
Your wife
wearing
summarizes
within,
it quite well.
like it's a cloak of shame that you realize that you've already tied the knot, you already have it on. Like, you know what I mean? So that's what's happening, is that you open your eyes and realize like I aided and abetted in this by
Hmm.
being silent at work, by not saying
Yes.
anything at my son's school, by letting that go on in my community, whatever it is. So that's what makes it uncomfortable. And that's why we get tired, because we're combating people reconciling the discomfort that they're sitting in.
Yes. And that's very fatiguing for people who have been under it for centuries, right? To deal with. So here's the thing. The
Mm.
ultimate elevator pitch for a racialized Pilates provider, that you have to spell out that you're equitable, that you
Mm.
believe in diversity, right?
Mm.
That
Yep,
you're willing to bring your people forward, you're willing to educate everybody else,
I figured
and
that out.
that you offer a Pilates service that's beyond none,
I got
that
it.
encompasses all of the previous four things.
Yes,
You taking notes, man?
I got it. No, because I think I figured out my pitch on that.
Yeah.
I would say I do Pilates for everybody. And when they say, "Oh wow, that's nice," I would say, "How do you define everybody?" And then I would define everybody and see
Hmm.
what our respective definitions of everybody is. And
Can you
that's
get
where
that
your
done
hook
in
come in.
90 seconds or less, though?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do a role play.
Yeah. Ah, all right.
All right.
Pitch
Ask me
me.
what I do. Okay, ask me what I do.
So, Martin Reed,
Yes.
what exactly do you do, and how can you help me?
Sure. Well, I'm a movement specialist, and one of the things I love to do most is teach Pilates. And I like to say that I teach Pilates, like they say, Pilates is for everybody.
Okay. So, what do you mean by everybody? What's that?
Well, that's a great question. How would you define everybody? Like, if you think of everybody, what is the first kind of demographic or people group that you think of?
Well, I would answer that I have a Trini background, so I think of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
They could be black, they could be South Asian, they could be white, they could be Chinese, they could be East Asian of any sort of type. But yeah, I have a
Cool.
kind of a
Yep.
universalist thing. But
That's
is that what
okay.
you mean by? And I say, is that what you mean by everybody?
Yes, and I say, well, that's a perfect example. Like when you think about Pilates, what do you think about? You think of like, blonde haired mom teaching Pilates type thing. Look at me. I'm a guy, I'm a black man, all these different things. So I have a sympathy for the fact that I'm few and far between in terms of teachers. Therefore, I
Mm.
want to make my space open for everyone, whether you're your body size, nationality, whatever, to be able to come in and feel better in your skin, improve your posture. You mentioned you have back pain, whatever it is, and be able to make the space open for anybody, regardless of what you look like, because I know what it feels like to not look like a regular Pilates teacher, to make a space
Yeah.
open for anyone that doesn't look like the normal Pilates person.
So that response would actually probably take take down my apprehension about trying Pilates, and because
Oh, maybe I'd like to try
already
that.
said that it's because, well, not beyond that, but you've already given me an indication that your space is safe,
Right.
right? And not having to say, well, this is a safe space for.
That's because that's like those are empty words.
They can't. Oh, they can, well, yes and no. They can be empty words depending on who's delivering. Right? It's all circumstance, of course. But you just said all of that in a reassuring way that says, "Oh, my space is safe. This is, yeah, maybe I'll come to your studio." And I still have
Right.
to come to your studio, by the way.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you do. So, but that's it. Because then, like, what happens normally is when you say that, the person naturally thinks, not just is this good for me? They're like, oh, I'm gonna bring my mom in. Oh, my dad's 87. Do you think this would be good for his hip? You know what I mean? Like, they start to think of someone else that would need it because now it's open for everybody.
Everybody, yes, yeah, and this is the way we have. This is exactly we have to the way that we have to pitch our work and movement. I agree. Too many of us kind of get bogged down in the minutia of it and not realizing that this is for the people. We're doing this for
Yes.
the people to make the people well, and the people is a lot of different peoples inside the people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And that's okay.
So
And so Tammy's point of what is safe, and that's the point I was making too. If you say safe space, I elaborated on safe space by talking about different people that look, are shaped, are from different descendancy, whatever it is. Those things are the safe that I wanted to present to that person. So
mm,
if
mm,
depending on the person that you have in front of you, you can make your blanket statement about what might be safe to them. And then if they ask
yes,
more questions, then you could reassure them. But if I say safe, like you mean, as much as it's a good thing, it's like Starbucks with a sticker that says safe space on the window. That's great, but that doesn't necessarily tell you who's working that day.
yeah, and doesn't mean
You know what
that
I'm
you'll
saying?
still be immune from epithets of any
Exactly.
sort of kind if you walk in.
From another
Anything
Like
from your color to maybe holding your same sex partner's hand as you walk inside the door, and then you
right,
get hollered at, right,
right,
or catcalled.
exactly.
So is this really a safe space?
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah, is it really? So yeah, safe space can be hollow. It really depends on what you said. But like I said, your pitch was good in that it didn't say that. It said what makes it safe, which is what makes it universal for everybody, which is good.
Right.
And we, as movement professionals, I think this is very important for us. If we learned anything over the last 2 years, is that we have to make movement accessible to everybody because everybody needs good sound movement.
Yep.
And Pilates
So
is
good.
very much a part of that,
Yep.
right? But the fact that we can offer cures, if not treatments at the very least, for all of these ailments, right, is also a good thing to stuff in there, provided that the context is right and you're dealing with the person who's asking the question. Again, the body that's in front of you.
For
So
sure.
that variety of elevator pitch is so important. I gotta
Yeah.
go.
All
I
right. Do your
hogged
thing,
up so
man.
much time.
No, I
All right.
appreciate it. I mean, as always, love having you in the space.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, as always. Yes, I put your handle up there already. Please follow Two Black To Martin Phils, and yeah, I'll let you jump off there, and I'm gonna bring Tammy on hopefully, and we can continue this conversation.
All right. Take
Awesome.
care,
Thank
all.
you so much.
All right. Bye.
All right. Hey Tammy, do you want to join me? I want to share a story with you. Chauncey Plies, yes. Oh
Oh,
hi.
oh no, my
Horizontal.
all right, Martin. Sorry.
Okay, drywall side.
I guess I'm gonna turn you. Wow. How do I get my
Turn around
this is
kind of other way. Turn around
yeah,
like
but
two more times, and I think you're good.
yeah, here we go.
Can you turn it again? Yes, almost. So close. One more turn clockwise.
Wow. This has never happened before.
Is it your iPad?
Yes, and I don't usually use it. I usually use my phone.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all good. What if
No.
you just, do you have space to rotate it? Like if you put it the other way?
Oh,
Like
yeah. Hold
two
on.
more times? There you go. That's right.
Oh, Martin. Okay.
That's okay. I have motion sickness now, but it's fine. We're
I
good.
am so sorry. I did not mean to make you have motion sickness. Okay.
So, hi. How's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm loving your LinkedIn content, by the way.
Thank you. I've really been doing a lot of it. This is so funny that you talk about the elevator pitch and I'm actually going backwards a little bit in regards to what is my why and what is my, like the how and like what is my I help statement, or like what you guys are talking about this morning. And it's like, it's very, very powerful, but it's like you have to step back, and I'm looking at the connection between and I don't want to go too far, but I'm just saying the connection between what I do both in the studio with my online and curriculum, and then what I'm doing like in my Zoom sessions. And it's really been interesting to try to segue all of them to say, this is what I do, because it's in a nutshell. That's where it's at the heart of everything that I'm doing.
Sure.
So, but
yeah, that's great. No, because that's the thing, right? And I think it's so hard. I appreciate how difficult it is when we talk about elevator pitch and your ideal client stuff. Like if you just stop and think about your absolute favorite person right now, and I'm asking this to everyone in the chat. If you think about your absolute favorite person that you work with right now, and if you were to spend the next concentrated time to try and find another person just like that, how long would that take? Where would you have to go? What would be the strategies in place to literally get another John Smith, like your favorite person who shows up at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday? Like that, compared to taking everyone who comes in, who finds you on social media, looks for you online, it's easier to just take everybody than it is to chase after that one person who is going to give you that much joy. It may, be able to afford to pay full price because they're getting, their company's paying for half of it or whatever it is. Like you can find this ideal person, ideal window and payment and everything in this one person, or you can just take everything that comes at you and you know what I mean? So I'm just thinking those things out, because like there's both sides of the story, like in terms of the elevator pitch and it's refining your business, and then just, look at what comes at you and just enjoying that and capitalizing on that and celebrating their movement and their success stories, right? So
it's really interesting that you say it like that, because I've just kind of like, I've done no marketing in regards to the studio. And even some of the online stuff that I've been doing, I haven't been putting a lot out there, but people are still gravitating towards me. And I think of a lot of it has to be like the messaging of what we're looking for, or what they're looking for too. So
right, exactly. True. So this is the story I was going to tell you this morning. So I was talking with a gentleman. I reconnected with one of my old clients who, and so we always have these great chats, whether it's about parenting or business or, that sort of thing. So he's in insurance. So he had a lot of conversation with people through life transitions. And he was talking at length about what he's observing kind of in the marketplace. And everything he's saying was trauma and a trauma-informed approach without using the word trauma or trauma-informed approach. So I was just, he went on this diatribe of all these things that he's seeing. And I'm like, that's what's really happening in our industry, where there's an increased awareness of this conversation. Like this is a conversation that we're having. So it's interesting from his end, without having a label, is seeing it and unfolding it and helping people navigate it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's when you think about the word trauma informed, and that actually, this is kind of interesting. I'm just going to turn this and show you. These are words of looking at like, how can I make the messaging? I'm not going to use the word softer, but still very potent in having people understand. And I don't know if you saw James Crater's post, but he talked about which to
Connected
me was
movement.
Connected
Yes.
movement. But there's also this, when people come to us, they're very fragmented or very disconnected, which is caused by the trauma. But I'm not saying trauma, I'm just using that as an example. And
Yes.
it's like, it's really, I've had to spend a lot of time thinking about what I say, Martin, and trying to, I've been using, and it's come up in conversation time and time again, moving from disconnection to reconnection and how we go about that. It's like you can't teach somebody if they're disconnected from their body. And so what do you look for? So and it's not just that. And it's like sometimes it's almost like, are we as instructors or movement educators or whatever you want, are we disconnected with our own selves? And I know that's a hard question.
No, that's a good question.
It's a hard question. You know, like all of the, I remember, and I'm not going to go back there too far, but I'm just going to say, do you remember last summer when we talked initially, and you told me I needed to get more education, and it was around like equity, diversity, and DEI, and it's like understanding those things, and it's opened a whole new world for me in regards to, was I really disconnected with that part of life, or was it because, messaging that I had heard from, years ago? And I think it's made me a better teacher. It's made me, or a movement specialist, because I like to say movement specialist. But anyways, so what did this guy say in regards to the trauma-informed pieces? I'm just curious what else he said.
Well, he was saying that, like, he was talking with someone and they were referred to him because just interested for making some decisions around their estate and insurance and stuff. And the person was going through a divorce, and he was saying, like, you have an emotional piece, a mental piece, and a physical piece, and just finding some balance and recognizing when one is you're focusing on one too much, or there's weakness there, or whatever. Like, he just had a wording that was very raw but very accurate.
Well, when you think about how emotions drive everything in our body, and when you're emotionally disconnected through whatever the situation may be, through like you've allowed yourself to become numb, or you're emotionally disconnected by the outside world around us because of circumstances that have happened over the last 2 years. And that's a disconnect. And it's going to disconnect us in a lot of ways, whether it's relationships with our families, relationships with our children, or relationships with our clients. And I think that it's created, like what's happened the last few years has really created a whole lot of disconnect in a lot of different ways. And
absolutely,
people have had to learn to, quote unquote, reconnect or reinvent what they're doing. And how they go about doing it.
100%. I did a workshop for, maybe it was Momentum Fest last year. It was on a Pilates push-up. And and the way that I taught it, and the way that I teach it here in the studio, I find myself using the phrase, now that was a connected movement. And I think it's the same in our life, because I can do a push-up, and just because I've done bench press forever, I can just muscle out push-ups, but I'm not connected to my lower body. So even though it looks right? It looks like it's a good push-up, but I'm not engaging these muscles and these muscles, or whatever it is. So like, when it's a connected movement, it feels different. You're stronger, you have more endurance, you don't hurt yourself, all these different things. But I find it's the wording, right? So instead of saying, hey, that's a good push-up, I'm like, good, that's a connected push-up. That's a connected movement. So when people get that word picture in their head and in their body, that a push-up should feel like this when it's a connected movement, that can translate to other parts of their life, where it's like, okay, that is a connected movement. Now I'm connected. Remember that push-up, how the difference between you were just using your tricep and when you're using your whole body, how it felt? That's the kind of connection. That's a connected movement that you need in other places of your life.
I had a very similar conversation with my client just a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then that conversation evolved after class in like how she had to abruptly retire and she had to create this whole reconnection with herself.
Yes.
Because she was immobilized because of medical issues. It was, it's just so funny how like these words and they begin to resonate with you in conversation. It's just, I mean, timing, I think is, I don't know.
Timing is everything. Yeah. We've heard these words before, but now they come alive.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. And they do. And I think that when we begin to recognize that so much of Pilates is about the connectedness in all aspects of our body. And if you've got one piece, I did a master class with Hope, Pedraza is her last name. And we talked about trauma and wellness is what we talked about. But when things are disconnected and we talked specifically, she did a lot with gut health. And so when things are disconnected with inside of us as well, then it causes us to have a dis-ease, which creates disease. And then there's a lot of it's just a lot of, it goes so much deeper than just the actual physical practice of Pilates and how it essentially, the disconnect and the reconnect impact our whole lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And each one of us wholly as a person. And so I don't say that I teach the body in front of me. I say I teach the whole person. And I use a whole person approach to teach. So taking into consideration all of those factors.
Yes, well said. So for those who are watching now feel like you need to go back to school, I would recommend one, following people like Tammy, Ali Green, Carol Amin. There's a lot of people out there that have really dove deep on these things. So please reach out, connect, ask them questions. I'm making more work for you, Tammy. Yes, and have these people in your hip pocket, right? So learn these things, but also learn where your scope of practice ends, what your capacity is, and when you need to hand off to somebody else. So don't feel like you need to master every nuance of movement. You don't need to be an Olympic lift specialist and a trauma-informed specialist at the same time. You need to just find out what your area passion is, but also know enough to know when it's time to refer. So that's really my takeaway from any time I talk with anyone who is high level on any area, whether it's hula hoops like yesterday or trauma.
Yeah, and I think that it's really, really I'm going to just say, because yes, it's Pilates, but I also have people that I'm working with currently that are personal trainers. And so she's a Pilates instructor, but a personal trainer. And staying within your scope of practice is just a big piece of for movement educators. I really, really stress that we stay within the scope of our practice. And it's so important. So.
Yep. The paradox is that lends to your credibility when you hand someone off.
Well,
that lends to your business when you hand someone off.
I think too, it's important to begin to make connections within the communities where you live. And I've made connections in the community where I live with people that are in the court systems. And so now I'm working with clients who are, and I'm doing trauma-informed work with them using Pilates, social workers, therapists, physical therapists, all of those kinds of things. It's just critically important.
Amazing.
So,
that's good stuff.
Thanks, Martin. But I really like your conversation that you had with your friend, because it just brings more awareness that, and I'm going to say this because I feel it's important, that as individuals, we are becoming much more aware, trauma informed. But what about businesses? Because we individually, like you and I are both, solopreneurs, and we can become informed. But what about larger businesses, Pilates? And it doesn't even have to be Pilates, but what about businesses? Are they becoming more trauma informed and using that with their staff and with clientele as well? So
That's, it's funny you said that because like as you were saying that, I wrote down on my page physio, right? Like I know there's quite
Yeah.
a few physio, I don't know about Mississauga what the deal is, but like almost every little out parcel plaza has a physio on the corner, right? Like they're almost like every little neighborhood has it. I don't know what's happening in any of them. Like let's get in there, have those conversations, and like, because I mean, like yeah. So that was actually my next business thought. Okay, where do I go and where do I connect this and how do I apply that? So always thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good to network, like within your own community and how you are, like just how you show up in your own community. I mean, I can show up online, but if they don't watch Martin Reed like I do, they don't know what I do.
Right.
And so just sharing those kinds of things is just so important. And that's why having conversations like embracing change, talking through trauma, which is like what you do, but I only do it once a week, and bringing in people within the Pilates community, or within like even in the like other aspects in the movement community. So, and I do that once a week, 11 to 12, and it started with Allie Green, and she comes on now as a guest with me, but it's really open. But it's really, it's like having conversations around that. And it's not that we're minimizing it, but making it more normal.
Normalizing, yeah. And it's not only or just once a week. It is once a week.
Okay, it is once a week and it's consistent. And if I can't get people to come on exactly at 11 o'clock, then I'll move the time and I shift. And so I was going to go on and do a live today about this, Martin, but you saved me a few minutes.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
but grab it, recycle it, use it. Like, throw it on your LinkedIn. You got a great following over there, so it's good.
Thank you. But, anyways, if anybody wants to follow, I would love to have conversations outside of Instagram. If anybody wants to talk with me, just DM me.
Yes.
So
can you just type your handle, like as I let you go here, just type your handle in the thing. I'll put it on the repost as well. I'll share. I figured out how to share the repost so you can actually use it as well now. Finally, after 2 years, so that's all sorted out now too.
So it's Studio T Pilates MI, and MI stands for Michigan. So,
all right, awesome. All right,
so, Martin, thank you so much for inviting me on today. This was very lively conversation, and I thoroughly, I really appreciate you thinking of me. So have a great day. Unless you've got more you want to ask me.
Nope, I think we're good. It's 10:54. It's in time to get set up for my next client too. So
all right. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
There you go. And thank you so much, Shanti Pilates. That's what Sherry Long said in her workshop. She was referring to moving as a dancer. Yeah, that movement piece earlier. Thank you for that comment. I saw Debbie Robbins came in. Shanti Pilates, yes, catch us later. I'll post the replay, and we're good. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Misty Lynn Cawthon is our co-host for tomorrow, and we are going to have a good time. See you at 10 o'clock.